want to press buttons. Yeah, I'm going to press these buttons and have us be live. Hi, everybody. Greetings.
Hello.
Welcome. It's Discussing Tabletop. It is, of course, May 21st. Yeah, May 21st.
It is the 21st, yeah.
I honestly sometimes have to remember. It's just,
I usually have to check. I mean, I should be better at it considering I work around food, but I can't be bothered.
It's like a date. It's like I'm good at remembering that part of it I'm good at remembering.
Yeah, I know
it's
a Saturday.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Most of the time, day of the week, because I kind of have a weekly schedule, helps. But, actual, date, it's sort of like, it was a thing. I wrote this earlier. I should be able to remember this.
Yeah.
The answer's no.
Usually,
yeah. Hey.
It's another week, and there's more things to talk about. Some of it confusing and maybe disappointing.
Yeah. So I guess let's start with Baldur's Gate. It's the Magic the Gathering Baldur's Gate Commander Legends have already started their preview. It's been only a couple of weeks since New Capenna came out, and they're yet previewing a new thing because reasons.
I like Commander as a format. I don't like that they're just here's a bunch of Commander decks. Also, they're more expensive now.
Yeah, the fact that they're more expensive now just it hurts a bunch. I think more than anything. I'm not even gonna bother looking through these a lot. I thought about looking through these, but I'm I think the thing I want to say about it is it's fine. I think if this was the only Commander product this year, I probably would have been better, even about it being more expensive. I've got to be honest about that.
Yeah.
Because then I could feel like they could make something premium or something.
If they were doing less of them and increasing the price. I think I'd be more okay with it, but I mean, I haven't really even looked at any of the preview cards because I don't like Baldur's Gate setting that much personally, at least for Magic. I like the second video game.
I just quickly looked through it and saw they had noticed they had their multicolor. They had Elminster as a planeswalker.
Yeah, I recognize the commanders because I think they're all from Baldur's Gate 2.
Okay. I think the big thing I have to say about this entire thing is, it's becoming harder to support some of these things, It used to be that the Commander decks were once a year, or 5 of them. They were more expensive, but they also had a lot of stuff in them. So it's sort of you spent $40, and if you wanted to buy all these individual cards, not the bulk stuff, the actual priced stuff, it might cost you at least $80 to $100. Mm-hmm. So you're still getting value.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm just not that interested in the ones they're putting out. Because I mean the 40k one's weird and I don't really care. Baldur's Gate, at least it's Magic the Gathering adjacent because it's D&D.
Yeah.
But I don't like Baldur's Gate enough to want Baldur's Gate themed card.
Yeah. I will agree. It's they're doing it, and I understand them doing it because they've started doing oh hey, we're doing some D&D stuff, and I'm I'm fine with that. But
maybe if they would do just a Baldur's Gate set eventually down the road, I would have liked that more.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, you have a whole lot of other planes that you've created. You could do a Ravenloft themed thing because Ravenloft is smaller. Do Ravenloft themed Commander decks.
Much smaller.
And then do Eberron as a main deck, and maybe Dragonlance after that finally comes out, or something like that, or finally blow off the dust off of Greyhawk and be
no, Greyhawk can. That'll be how they bring it back as a Magic set, and that's they'll never touch it again. It'll be one commander deck.
Greyhawk's not that bad. Come on, man. Only a little.
I think people just want to forget Greyhawk exists.
Well, there's a lot
I don't know why, because like it's just fine.
It's just fine.
It's nothing special.
That's what I think it is. It's just average.
Like I mean, it was the original setting.
Yeah. I've never had anything against Greyhawk. Gotta be honest. You know. So
I've never played it, so I don't really know much about it.
I've mostly adjacently used it. I haven't had any like direct uses of it. For some early games and stuff, I like used a lot of the basic setting information. Was just creating some areas on my own, and I played in a few games that have done the same thing with it. But like so sort of like nondescript villages and cities, which could be in this area, but you know wouldn't be mentioned,
Fair.
kind of thing. You know. And honestly, from what I've heard of the lore, it's not terrible. I don't know. You know, whatever.
Like I said, I mean, Commander's it's a fun game mode, but I don't know, these decks just don't really do it for me, especially with their more expensiveness to it now.
The thing is, like, because there's a lot of new cards are always going to be more expensive when they first come out, and then lose value.
I liked, because they did Commander decks where it was like, it's just this Planeswalker deck kind of thing. I like those because it's usually like, here's a cool, unique version of a Planeswalker, and then here's a bunch of reprints.
Well, that was the thing is, those older Commander sets I was talking about did have new cards, but they tended to have a very low percentage. They were like, you know, maybe out of the entire group of them, maybe like 10% were new cards, and then a lot of just really good reprints. And yes, so maybe you can look at like, you know, oh, hey, these new cards, they're going to drop some value. It still means you got your value worth, and you knew you got your value worth.
And they weren't that expensive.
Well, even when they were like $35 a piece or something.
They were fine. I liked it back then. But
now we're up
with the price hike, it's hard for me to want some of these products.
Again, we know they can put out decks like this for $20. They've done it. They did it during, I think it was Zendikar Rising. They put out $20 Commander decks. They've ruined themselves for this, for me buying them ever again.
Yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to buy a Commander deck again, personally. Honestly, I might not ever buy anything besides a draft box again, if I'm honest.
I might buy singles, honestly.
Yeah, singles, because singles could be fine, still.
If I finally get into my pre-made legacy decks and like revamp them with newer cards again, which I haven't done in like 5 years maybe now, if I find some cards from these sets and honestly that work in them when I'm revamping them, I'll look into buying them single, honestly. Might be better. Also, like, I can wait until things drop in price a little bit.
Yeah.
Give it like half a year, and most of these, you know, that are very expensive now, some of them might still remain valuable. You know, that's the thing is, you it depends on how good they are. You know, you can. You could probably find something, but I don't know.
Or you'll be stuck in the situation like me where you have like 90% of a deck and the couple of cards you need are like over $10. And you're like, I don't want to.
I'm sorry? I was at the multicolored cards in this. Let me put the card image color here.
I don't have the link, so I can't look at it.
Yeah, I didn't put this link up here. At the bottom of the green was Wilson Refined Grizzly.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing him.
I'm like, and it was of course next to "You look upon the Tarrasque," where I like it's run or hide or gather your courage.
Yeah.
Look, the grizzly bear won me just on that.
Some of these cards are cool.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
But like, I mean, there's Minsk and Boo, who are the Planeswalker now, I guess.
Apparently. And Tasha, the Witch Queen. Oh yeah,
her being a Planeswalker makes sense because she does go to other planes.
Same with Elminster, I think.
Yeah.
I know about Minsk and Boo. Unless they're from, do they travel to Sigil?
They might. They might go to Sigil.
If they have, like, Sigil-based adventures, maybe that's why they're having them as planeswalkers or something. Like, I honestly, for a little bit there, forgot Tasha was the one that did hideous laughter and stuff.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting that these, like, named dudes and dudettes actually exist sometimes.
They do.
Like Bigby in his hands.
Bigby does exist.
He has lots of hands.
It looks like it's a mix of Baldur's Gate 2 and 3 characters, I'm assuming. Because there's Shadowheart is here, and that she's in 3.
Okay. See, I don't know enough about 3 at this point in time to do it. I mean, the one thing I will mention here, I do like that they brought back the style of cards from Eldraine. Because they got, like, the ones that have, like, the little bit of, like, adventures from Eldraine.
Yeah.
Those I actually liked. So, I mean, like, that's... Or maybe those aren't adventures from Eldraine and they're from the original Baldur's of Forgotten Realms set. I don't know if they had something similar, but it looks like it. So it reminds me of Eldraine, unless they did the same thing. Look, I don't know. I'm confused now. I'm going to move on.
Fair.
It's a set that's coming out if you really have the extra money and it's to spend. Look to see if it's value card-wise and financially-wise. Honestly, that's what I always say. Like,
yeah.
If they do end up having some reprints that are actually really good, more power to them. But I don't know at this point in time. Hey, this book came out. It's been like half a year. Monsters of the Multiverse is being sold individually.
No, it took long enough.
It's so long.
It took fucking long enough for this thing to finally come out. I don't know if I'm gonna buy it because, like, I mean, it's 3 books conventional, and technically, I don't actually own a physical copy of any of the bestiaries for 5e.
Mm-hmm.
So I could get value out of this. I don't care enough, I guess, because I have other tools at my disposal.
Yeah, it's just the entire thing about this is, like, it's been so very long. It's very reprinty because it's compiling and updating monsters from the original Fullness Guide to Monsters and Mordecai and Tome from Foes. And then, like, maybe has some other stuff too, possibly, maybe.
This is maybe the lowest rated D&D 5th edition book I've seen on Amazon. 3 stars.
Oof.
That's pretty bad.
I think it's gotta be partially the fact that they've had it, like, released.
It's definitely partially the fact that they released it stupidly.
Yeah.
And, like, it's because it's all reprinting, so obviously, you know, that's a problem. Because if you own these books, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's literally nothing new. And I feel that it wasn't advertised as that. Personally.
Now, I clicked on Amazon and it's got 40% off already.
They do that when they release any D&D book.
Okay, I didn't.
When they release one book, they put every book on sale. At least on Amazon.
Okay. Still, 40% off maybe makes it worth it. If it was just at $30 to begin with, because it's a lot of reprints.
It is just reprinting.
And they're charging $50.
Yeah.
But it's upgrades, too!
It's reprinted. It's lore and rule changes that are, like, I don't like most of them. Especially not the spellcasting changes for spellcasting monsters.
Yeah, I agreed on that one, definitely.
Definitely, like, this rewording a couple things on stat blocks is nice, and they've made some monsters a little more powerful. But it's not enough for me to buy a new book, unfortunately.
It's just that I remember us talking about the 3-pack and being annoyed about that, and it's finally out, and I'm like, I'm just sad about this. It's not great. It's not exciting. It's just sort of there, and I'm like, why now? It's like, you've been, like, fucking like 5-6 months is way too long.
Yes, if this had come out as a solo book at the start of the year, I would have considered it a little more, but now, I've kind of, you missed me.
Like, even a couple of months in between there would have been okay if you wanted, like, an exclusivity on your product. But this had to not be great.
The other problem I have with this personally is, like, it obsoletes 2 books that were already very expensive when people bought them.
Yeah. And they're probably still going to sell those books for full price.
I don't know if they're going to sell these. I know these were at least removed from D&D Beyond before D&D Beyond got bought.
Mm-hmm. I guess they might not put them out formally anymore.
Yeah,
they might not do.
But these are you can definitely still find these books secondhand and such.
Or still new in stores probably somewhere.
Yeah.
For full price. I'm just going to guess.
Even though they're obsoleted now.
Oh, yeah. Because that's the way things work here. It was never would Wizards allow for anything sane.
Nope.
Ever. So yeah, that was the misadventures of Wizards being stupid.
Usually happens.
Culminating in this. I hope everybody who wants it gets it, and if you don't want it, don't. I mean, again, I think my entire thing is if you're looking for the other 2 books, this is a cheaper way of getting it.
If you don't own those 2 books, this is a good product. Now that it's, an individual book and not in a bundle.
Yes.
Because I was in the awkward situation of, I don't own any bestiaries. I do own all of the the source books besides those. Mm-hmm. So the bundle is useless to me.
Yeah. Let's move on. I want something a bit nicer. Paizo's releasing something they haven't done in a while. A big book.
Oh, shit. Big books.
What a big book is it's taking one adventure path and publishing it rather than all 6 little miniature ventures in one giant book.
Nice.
They did this with Rise of the Rude Lords, a couple of the Crimson Throne, I think Curse of the Crimson Throne.
Yeah, Crimson Throne has one, I'm pretty sure.
So doing it for Abomination Vaults. Now, it is one of their most approachable ones. It goes from 1st to 11th level. I don't know if it's 6 adventures or 3 adventures, because I can't remember Abomination Vaults enough. Let me check the Abominations Vault adventure path, because I can click on that. 4 or 5. It was a 3 adventure path.
Yeah, it's not a long one. It's a bit of a shorter one.
Yeah. Let me check what their. I think it's a little less the book than what one of the other big ones is, but only a little less. But again, they might put more stuff in it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I do like these, honestly. They're let's see here. Open level campaign include primary background, timeline, easily guideline the dungeon levels you find. The next chapter detailing the town of Owari. A bulk of the hardcover includes the next 10 chapters, include detailing each of the 110 levels, including an article about evil gods lurking in events of the chapter. Near the end, enormous adventurous toolbox, including all the new item spells, archetypes of adventures, and more. Let's see here. So I mean, it's got a lot of stuff in it. It's probably well organized, much more than looking through the 3 adventure paths of the player's guide, and it's all in one book. And if you want to get into an adventure path for 2nd edition, this is supposed to be one of the better 2nd edition ones to get into.
I will say, this is something I do like that's in the back of this book. A glossary that gives short summaries and locations for NPCs, groups, unique items, and more. I like that because, when I have to find something, I can go there, get a page number, and get a little description of the NPC or item, which is nice. More books should have that.
And it is 2E, Lightning.
It is 2nd edition.
This is I can't know if it's. I don't know if I'd say it's an earlier one. It's one that's been out for a bit, though.
This is one of the ones I think people recommend the most as a start.
Yeah.
Which is a very well received one.
Yeah. So it's like one of the best so far. Like honestly, I think that's one of the reasons that God, Rise of the Rune Lords actually got a big book, because it was just again, like, that's why I still spout, because it is, even though it's the first adventure path, it's just standard fantasy.
It's still one of the most well received ones.
Yeah, because it's just standard fantasy adventure. You don't really have anything special or crazy about it, so it's really difficult to screw that up.
Yeah.
You know? It doesn't have, like, weird kingdom building where you'd find in, like, Kingmaker or stuff, where you might have issues with it or something. Or, you know, weird crusade mechanics for something like Wrath of Righteous, or, you know, alien technology from whatever that one is, or, you know, anything Carrion Crown.
Yeah. Carrion Crown was a thing.
I mean, Skulls and Shackles requires a lot of work for the DM, a lot more than some of the other ones, because you just have to kind of be like, they're going pirating. What the fuck am I going to have them go do? This when they're pirating, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of how it is, though.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, this is a more mega dungeon-y based adventure, but I like how they made an actual adventure path out of it, comparison to Emerald Spire, where Emerald Spire had a quest line. That was their first edition mega dungeon. But it was kind of loose, and it was more, you've been tasked to explore this place. Good luck. You know, that kind of thing. You're like, all right, let's go explore this place. That's our plot. Oh, there's other stuff going on in this location. Oh my, you know, something like that. I'm curious as to what, like, you know, because I haven't really read much into the Abomination Vaults, what their actual plot kind of would be, but...
Yeah, I've never read it personally.
Yeah. So this might be an excuse to do it at some point in time. I don't know.
Yeah. I would love to do more second edition.
Yes. I'd like to do more first and second edition. I just have to plan things out and find places to
Planning is the hardest part.
It really is. Like, I'd like to do at least another adventure path offline, and probably once Buccaneers ends. I know I'm going to be replacing it with Madness, but I might also do, like, once we're getting to season 4 or 5, I might do a second first edition campaign just to start it. Just another adventure path. Like, maybe Rise of the Rune Lords, honestly. I keep thinking about maybe just playing through that one, because it's a fun standard fantasy. You know? That might be a good... And that's why it's easy for stream, I think, because it's just standard fucking fantasy. Yeah. But, yeah. Abomination Vault. Check it out if you're interested in it. So recommend it. This is more of a kind of update than anything. We did talk about this when it was up on Kickstarter. The webcomic Girl Genius had an RPG powered by GURPS by Steve Jackson Games. They've released it formally.
Oh, nice.
So it is actually out. It's up on their website. They have a PDF and a hardcover. They sell the PDF for very expensive in comparison to the hardcover. They're not pulling a... They're at least selling a PDF, but they're like $40 instead of the $50.
Oh,
yeah.
That's an expensive PDF.
Yeah.
That's a bit too much for a PDF. That's like double the price that a PDF should be.
Like, even for, like, a large book, I'd say, like, for, like, 100... Because it's, like, 196 pages. Even if you give me 30, I'd be like, that's kind of expensive, but I'd still accept it.
It's, like, understandable.
Yeah. But, like, 20 to 30 for a big PDF? Yeah.
40 is a lot. Especially, like, at that point, just get a book. The physical book.
Yeah. Right here. I'm gonna sneeze again. Oh, I lost my headphones. Jeez, that was a heck of a one. And that hurt a lot. Oh, God. I think I just hurt my lungs. Wow. Oh, man.
That's not good.
Jeez. Yeah, I mean, like, I was never against this kind of thing. I don't know a lot about this world. An interesting, you know, world that's been developed. I know that this webcomic has been out for a long time. That's what I can say. So it probably has a very well-developed world that, kind of like Critical Role's at 1 billion episodes. This has probably had, like, I don't know, even if it's, like, weekly, it's probably got, like, by now, probably been out, like, at least a decade, I'm assuming. Yeah. Fuck, man. It's been a long time since I've, like, seriously checked out webcomics. I used to read a bunch of them and stuff. Man, back in the day. Oh, I feel old. Grumble, grumble, my old man stick's gonna smack you for getting on my lawn or something. I don't know.
So rude.
But anyway, so yeah. I mean, the only disadvantage I would say is it's GURPS, and GURPS has its issues. It's a fine system.
GURPS is a thing. It's okay mostly.
Mm-hmm. So, if either you like GURPS, which I mean, more power to you. It's a fine system. Not great, not terrible. It's kind of mediocre.
Yeah.
But it's good for, like, you can do anything with it.
It's very generic.
Yeah. Or if you really like this and you didn't back the Kickstarter, the webcomic, either you're old or new fan, go ahead and check it out. I mean, more role-playing games, I'm always supporting those, so. Ow. So, Modiphius has 2 things for us that I want to talk about. First off, because they're cracking along very quickly with this, Star Trek Discovery Season 3 crew pack.
Okay.
So, while we don't have the full information, like they were only releasing like the first primer book for probably the first 2 seasons, at very least they're providing us with the 3rd season crew pack, which tells me that they're probably going to come out with some kind of material for that. For basically the, like, far future Federation.
Yep, well, they'll probably release that.
Because honestly, like, that might be fun. Like, I feel like that would be a pretty good Star Trek to check out, because it feels like it's a little different than something like original series Star Trek is. Because original series Star Trek, you're still, like, you're being very cowboy, but you're exploring. This is very cowboy, but you're like, it's like rediscovering or reconnecting, or something like that. Because it's sort of like, it's a future where warp travel gets really screwed up, so it's hard to travel between places. The Federation partially splinters. There's still a bunch of it left. And the idea of the season is Discovery's basically leading to try to rebuild the glory of the Federation and maybe, fix a lot of the issues that have come about from this shattering kind of thing that happened. Because they've apparently got, like, a different type of star drive that they've always had since the first season. So now that's useful for, other ships to be able to travel. So, I don't mind that storyline. It's an interesting storyline. So,
Yeah.
Neat. It is, that's the first thing they have out. And then they also have, let's see here. They've released a rules digest for Star Trek's Adventure. It's a 304-page rules digest. It's a more compact version of the core rulebook and features update, original era layout, and art throughout. This was previously available as part of the Tricorder Collector's box set, and it's a digest-sized soft cover edition. So it's like a cheaper book. So, let me put this in U.S. dollars.
It's a pretty nice, I think what this out.
Yeah. So rather than like a $60 book, it's like a $40 book, but it's like an updated version of the core book. And like, again, like, if I might recommend this to, like, players, if you want a copy of your own book and you're not running it, this might be a good way to get it that you don't have to pay as much and, it's still something good. I'm very happy that they're like, hey, we decided that this thing that we had in our director collector's box, we're going to release it because probably people like it on its own. Oh man, it turns out, that they're great. Because also I saw that, like, that announced tricorder box actually came out pretty recently. That wasn't like a big thing because I think we kind of talked about it like a while ago that they had announced it. But I was sort of like, that's been out recently. And so they're like, oh, hey, we're not going to wait like 6 months and do this. You know, we'll put it out right away. Busting on Wizards now, aren't I? I really feel like I am, but I feel like I'm also really happy to. Wizards! Keep shaking here in upsetness.
It's not gonna stop, chat. I'm just gonna keep doing it.
My anger at them.
This is why wizards won't talk to us. Also, they don't know we exist.
That is probably a lot more true than any other statement. They're like, "Who are you?" Yeah, I'm just gonna walk over here now. So yes, Star Trek stuff. Honestly, 2 great products that I'm very happy.
I like Star Trek Adventures, and I would love to play more of it, but it takes like a billion years to set up again.
Okay. Oh god, it's on GameFound. Oh, okay.
GameFound.
Yes, this is a this is a Kickstarter. Well, not Kickstarter, GameFound. I'm sorry, because it's basically Kickstarter, but not.
More or less Kickstarter.
It's the same kind of thing. Anyway, the 2 Change RPG. This is when I saw that looked weird and interesting.
Oh god, it's so bright.
It is very bright. But basically, you have shape-changing abilities, or like transformational abilities, kind of RPG.
Okay.
It's a rules-light RPG, which is about changing, body and mind and stuff. It uses a tarot deck as major arcana. It has rules for 2-player sessions, longer campaigns, adding gender-changing elements, not just transform into animal creatures or stuffing or things like that, or like weird abilities. I mean, the art shows off really strange things like, having animal abilities, multiple limbs, that one person has tentacle fingers or something.
That's a little weird.
That's a little weird. Look, I'm guessing this is a really weird and interesting kind of game. I think that's kind of where it is. It's weird and interesting. Is this even... How can I tell what's backed and what's not backed? It's funded.
It's funded? It is... Yeah, it is funded.
Oh, it only has 22 hours left. Well, I mean,
It's funded.
Yeah, it's funded for 22 hours if you're interested at this point.
As a person who likes playing shape-changey things, it's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Read into that and how you want, viewer.
Yeah, no, it's, look, it's very interesting, different kind of game, and that's the kind of thing I like pointing out here. And so if it reaches goal, it's very close to being done. If you check this out here on Twitch, where you're live with us, or check us out in the next day, I'd recommend, if you're interested in that kind of thing, checking it out.
I always like it when people make RPGs that do something weird or just don't use dice and use something else.
I don't mind using something else. I'm worried about it being really good or not good. That's the only thing is sometimes.
Yeah, because it's always hit or miss when people do something a little weird.
Yeah.
But I like seeing how creative people can get with these kind of things.
I mean, they have their own tarot card set that you can get for $28. So $10 for the PDF, $18 for the book and PDF, and $28 for the book PDF and some tarot cards that they give you with
They're
it.
pretty nice looking tarot cards.
Yeah. So yeah. I think that's it for this one because I can't think of anything else to say right now.
Could be cool.
Could be cool. All right. Well, Discovery Channel.
Curious what this one means.
So, everyone's favorite company has teamed up with Discovery Channel for something that's based on Shark Week.
Alright.
Monopoly. Why? What is... I don't understand you, Discovery Channel. Why did you sink to this low?
What are the spaces on this?
Different types of sharks, I think.
Alright,
I mean, like, it's just different types of sharks. Apparently they've got, like, explore and discovers, like, to take some chance and community check.
I like that they've changed chance and community checks, but there's still jail and free parking.
Could be like Shark Cage or something.
What do you go to jail for in Shark Monopoly?
Poaching?
True. Where do you park your car in Shark Monopoly?
At the marina?
Like, I don't know, it's like, it's just a Monopoly board. I hate Monopoly with a passion. It's the worst board game ever created.
This is just a weird thing that I was, like, looking at. I'm like, why Discovery Channel Shark Week did you need to combine with Monopoly? And, like, why? Like, I don't even think they're, like, giving money to, like, a charity or something. Like,
no, they just made this for whatever reason.
Like, if they're giving money to a charity, I'd be like, okay, I'll give it that, You're, like, giving it to, like, Save the Sharks or some kind of shit like that, I'm sure there's some kind of positive shark-related charity.
They need to keep the lights on, so they've turned on the Monopoly board printer.
I don't think they need to anymore. They have Discovery Plus out now. It's literally named after them, and they've assimilated a whole bunch of other stuff.
Oh man, I can't wait to play as my favorite Monopoly piece, Discovery Shark Week.
This is a sign that says Discovery Shark Week. I mean, like, the other things at least are fine, but, like, that thing is just, like, you're just a bunch of words. Oh, God. It feels a little lazy, is what I'm going to say, too. At least they changed a little bit, but it still feels a little lazy.
Looking at all the different types of sharks they have on here.
That's a good question. Let's see if I can see this board a little bit.
It's very blurry.
It's unfortunately very blurry.
I see whale shark. I see tiger shark.
I see basking shark.
That one is cat shark. I love the cat shark.
I got mega mouth. Yeah, good. That's a good one here. Got goblin shark. Oh,
that's a good one.
Yeah. Hammerhead.
Very ugly creature, the goblin shark.
Mako leopard shark. I can't see the ones that are upside down because I've got this image.
Yeah, those ones are hard to see because I can't read upside down.
Yeah.
It looks like they have the blue shark because I recognize the very derpy looking face of a blue shark.
Okay, that's interesting. The railroads are just different areas of the ocean.
That's fair.
So
that
like
makes
seafloor,
sense.
coral reef, deep sea, and open ocean. God, that kind of just.
It makes sense, I guess.
And water power, I guess, is just fixing your boat or something. I don't know. It's just.
I assume. Well, the luxury tax is fuel. Makes sense. Can't tell what income tax is supposed to be. I assume some kind of maintenance.
Yeah.
Here's how much I know what a monopoly board looks like.
I mean, it's the unfortunate thing of, like, having a lot of experience with that kind of thing.
Power company's usually here. I think, like, that's usually power company. I can't tell what that is.
I mean, the free parking space is just a car in open water.
It's just a car. They could have at least changed it to a boat.
Yeah.
I can't really tell what free parking or not free parking, electric company and water company are supposed to be on here. They're just pictures of boats.
I gotta say, like, I feel like it's that one thing that I've, like, thought about, like, side tangent for just a little bit. Discovery's really going downhill the last 10 years. Like,
I don't know why. I don't know why I would ever, like, watch Discovery Channel when, like, the streaming service Nebula exists, which has, like, a lot of better, more educational shit on it.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing is, like, you can get a lot more of this educational thing from a lot of
like,
other
if
places.
you want educational content, Nebula or Curiosity Stream. Those are like the two best right now.
I started watching. I can't know if I can. It's like Kyrgyzstan or something like that.
Oh, them? Yeah, they're really. I don't know how to fucking say it.
I don't know how to say it either, but it's
they're Swiss, I think.
They do this like weird deep dive topics into things that are very interesting, you know.
It's
with little animation, you know.
It's such a great channel.
Yeah. But like stuff like that, there is educational stuff out there. And yes, Discovery Plus is a thing now that has a lot of options for stuff, but it's sort of like... Shark Week, I tried watching one of those a couple of years ago, and I'm like, this is no longer interesting anymore, like it was like 15 years ago when I was much younger, or even 20 years when it like first came out, where it was actually like educational stuff. Now it's all like great white sharks all the time and doing crazy shit like this.
Discovery Channel and the History Channel are not educational channels anymore. No. And they haven't been for a long time.
I mean, I'll give you Animal Planet at least has those shows where they show the backgrounds of zoos which have animals in them.
This is what happened. That stuff all used to be on one TV station. Yeah. And then they split it all to be more specialized. But there's never anything on those channels because only so many shows about the wildlife in Africa exist.
Yeah. Well, now they're all on Animal Planet. No, that actually they don't exist. There is no shows about wildlife in Africa. Those don't really exist. It's if you want something wildlife, the only things that exist are like freaking the zoo shows on Animal Planet, and then also maybe like I don't know, a vet show or something, which I'm like, I don't want to watch a vet show.
It's like I used to watch a lot of the History Channel, and then the History Channel became weird, like, reality show about looking for Nazi treasure, or a show about a pawn shop.
Ooh, or Ancient Aliens. It's always aliens.
Yeah, that show's actually just terrible, though.
Yeah, but they do a lot of it still.
It's still on, and I hate it.
It's sort of like... I know it still exists, because, like, it doesn't happen often, but, like, my father will channel surf before he goes off to work, and sometimes when I'm getting breakfast, or, like, you know, at least some orange juice in the morning, you can see him, like, flipping between channels, and sometimes he'll stop in the History Channel, and it's like... And, like, this could be aliens or something like that. I'm like, okay, you lost me there. Granted, I don't think he stings around for that. But he at least stood around long enough to find out what was going on there and that it was not a real history show.
Yeah, like... I haven't had a TV or cable in, like, actual years. I get most of my content from the internet. I already see a lot of crazy fake shit on the internet. I don't need to see it on a TV channel.
If there was a better way to explore the internet on our TV, I'm sure I could switch my parents to that. But yeah. The controller is awful.
I've used the smart TV. They're not intuitive.
Nope. Unfortunately, no. So Discovery Channel sold out something, I don't know, and Shark Week is just awful now. I don't know. Maybe there's a couple of good shows, but...
I mean, like, the old thing with Shark Week is, like, a long time ago, there was usually a Mythbusters special, which was always fun.
Yeah. Or, like, they would have, like, this interesting shark we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about this area of the coral reef. Now, like 90% of them are about great white sharks. And I'm like, I don't care enough at this point.
You only learn so much about a great white shark.
I'm like, cool, they jump out of the air. Again.
Also, like, a lot of times just a rerun of something that was on, like, last year.
God, it could be, definitely. It's like Air Jaws 27. We keep making these because reasons.
Yeah. That's this TV now. Also, streaming services are slowly becoming that.
I honestly, like, I haven't really watched TV in like a couple of months now, and it hasn't done me any worse. I have to say,
I'll watch something on Netflix occasionally. Well, not really anymore because Netflix cancels anything that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Hulu has like some okay stuff. My ex-family was on Hulu. That's where I watched it. I just like use Twitch or YouTube most of the time though.
Yeah, Twitch and YouTube. There's lots of streams that I'll just kind of, again, like, I less YouTube now than I used to myself. Like nowadays, there's a lot of like, put something on Twitch and usually work on something else at the same time.
That's what I usually do, and like, weirdly, the streaming service that gets the most use from me is Disney Plus, because there's always something at least interesting on there.
They've got a good library. I got to be honest about that.
They really do.
But the idea, that's the thing, is like I thought about it more, and I'm like, they freaking bought Fox, and that was such a great.
They bought Fox, and they have like every Fox movie on there.
Yep. It was such a good move. It was a great move for them.
It's like actually terrible for the industry, but like a really good business move for them.
Yeah. It really cemented their streaming service. It's like one that I'm like, oh god damn it, that's the one you kind of want then finally. Because the other ones, they couldn't really sell me for, like, you know, anything more than, like, you know, maybe if they had a lot of content for subscribing for like a month to get, like, some of the stuff. Maybe. And then watch it all. And then call it a day. Anyway. I need a deeper discussion topic. I've been distracted.
Yeah, you gotta pick one.
Something that's different than what we've been talking about by a little bit. That one I kind of want to have, like, maybe lightning on for.
Alright, I get the Discord channel.
Yeah.
Let it know.
I've got the making your own RPG system. It sucks.
Oh, I've done that.
Yeah. We could do like a knowledge one. I mean, if you want to talk about that today, we have to talk about it one of these days. I have to grab it.
We do have to talk about it eventually.
Yeah. Yeah.
As someone who's been working on
the thing is,
3 settings.
And the thing is, you're just working on stuff related that's like a 5e adjacent stuff. You're not even like making a system.
I'm not making my own shit.
Yeah. Yeah. We could see if we could lure lightning out with this one. Sure. Let's just add this to our topic thing, and let me actually go into the docket and put it in so I remember to. Like so. And we have a topic of making an RPG system. It sucks. I need to take a drink of water.
Cat's dying.
Probably. Aren't we all? Slowly but surely.
Yeah, some of us quicker than others.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. So, yeah, we're gonna talk about a deeper discussion topic of making your own RPG system.
Yeah.
So, there's different levels to that, definitely. I think the easiest, in quotation, is developing your own corner of a pre-existing world.
Yes.
That would be like, I want to build an entire adventure. It's set in Faerun, so I can use a lot of the Faerun background, but there's like a couple of cities or villages or like history that's not related to the major storyline of it, you know?
Yeah.
It's sort of like, if your character wants to be from, Neverwinter. Great, you're from Neverwinter. It's not really going to come up too much, you know. Or if you're from Kalimport, or like, it's a Coromir, I think is there, you know. One of those. You know, that is still work, because it's building an original story.
Yeah.
Which is the kind of basics a lot of us do when we're not using a pre-made adventure.
The base that every DM does when you don't use, like, a module or something, right?
Yeah. And even using a module, you could still adapt it. Like I do with Buccaneers. I add a lot of little things in here and there.
I did when I ran portions of Carrion Crown. I adapted a lot of its story to be less bad.
Yeah. Then you get to, I'm building my own world.
I'm doing that one currently.
There's different layers of that too. When I did Madness of the Land, I technically was building 2 worlds, but one of those worlds people weren't existing in the storyline. So I didn't really need a deep dive into the cultures and existence of that world to a heavy degree. Granted, that did have some disadvantages, but it did mean that I could be like, yes, all this stuff over here, you were there before, it doesn't matter now, that world's gone, you're over here now, congratulations, we don't have to worry about it. I could develop something that I don't have to worry about the culture. You have standard fantasy culture. Great.
You're generic fantasy.
You're one city in a different world. I may have to adapt the cultures of kind of like these things you're encountering, these groups and species, you know, and you're probably only going to dive briefly into them because most of them are going to want to murder you. Then you could do what Lightning and you have been working on, where you're...
Yeah, Lightning and I have been... It's more Lightning's world that I've kind of, you know, come on as to help build it. We've made, like, an entire-ass plane. Also Cell's helping with it now.
I mean, I can understand.
Cell's... We've basically, like, done the weirdness of... We have the base of the plane now. Me and Lightning built that.
Mm-hmm.
Cell is building the ancient past of that plane. I'm building the future-y techno bullshit of that plane. Lightning's doing what's in the middle of that.
Okay, so you're kind of doing 3 eras in it, so some history.
Yeah, we're doing 3 eras of play. I've seen what Cell has done. It's very good, but my god, I would never put that much effort and commit to that many words to paper about a thing I am making, because I'm lazy. Comparison, Cell has like a 30-page Word document on his ancient history world. For my neon cyberpunk world, I have a spreadsheet.
I honestly can understand that, because it's sort of like...
I have a spreadsheet of, here's the major events, here's what the cultures are like. Yeah. I'm only running it in one city because I'm using the human capital as a night city kind of equivalent in Cyberpunk. That's where the game's going to be set.
Yeah. But it's a basis to still spread out from there. And, you know, like
Enlightening did a big base of, there's a bunch of, like, general, vague, existing history and a bunch of cities and named continents. So it has a nice base for me and Cell to work on.
Yeah, and like it is still like a major work developing this and stuff.
It takes a long time to do it. I basically built like 90% of the Kitsune land that you've played 2 games in.
Yeah. I think the other thing I have to say about the entire thing, because it's like,
it's been an ongoing thing for 3 years.
Yeah. Like, if you consider, here's one. Let's consider, even Forgotten Realms.
Yeah.
Forgotten Realms has been developed in a combination of books published, video games, which have some done, and then, of course, a lot of the, like novels published, like a lot of R.L. Salvador stuff, and other people have done some stuff too in favor. I like to make fun of that, man.
Mostly Salvador has done a lot of the Swords Coast work. Other people have done a lot of the work elsewhere.
Yeah, but still, like the Swords Coast is heavily developed, and the thing is, how many novels has he done? How many books has he done? How many years has he spent?
Oh god, it's a lot of books and a lot of years. I think the first book came out in like the 90s, dude.
Yeah. It's been a lot. So that's a very well-developed world has taken that long. You know, it's not easy to do this sort of thing.
No, it's a very time-consuming, and honestly, it can get a little bit frustrating because you hit brick walls sometimes. Because sometimes you will have a thing in the world that you don't know what to do with, but it has to be part of that world because that's how the world works. You're not quite sure how to fit that piece into the mess you're making.
Yeah. It's some of those things that I try, like, again, I avoided it in mine, but like I can tell you, the world I vaguely developed for Badness was it's a supercontinent land where there was ultimately an ancient war that caused the more savage races, a lot of the, not all, but most of the giants, trolls, ogres, the goblinoids, orcs, kobolds, to all be driven to one area of the land. And then a giant, like, magical barrier was erected. Basically,
nice.
You know, it was probably a really terrible thing, which resulted in, you know, an evil overlord uniting them as one massive army, and then breaking the barrier and surging forth, basically committing... And the thing is, they were committing genocide against all the other species. But they also, like, the storyline is, they were also killing themselves. They were fanatical. They weren't keeping up support. They had abandoned everything back home. They were just an army that was fighting to the death. That's the idea. It was you're starting from a nearly dead world where a lot of this history is gone because of everything that's happened. Mm-hmm. But the idea that some of that history could come into play and things like that did exist, and I thought to develop that world a little bit more, and some of the politics that existed, because, like, that's an interesting world to be in, you know, either in some of the various distinct histories of it. Granted, like, there's that entire huge, in quotation, peaceful time, where you're not really going to have a lot of other, like, you know, humanoid species, but still. And there was an entire area of the continent where, like, no humanoid or intelligent creature was known to be in, which was, like, a savage area to the far south. Mm-hmm. You know, but, see, that still requires work to develop more. It's simple in comparison to, I have to develop the Kitsune culture, I have to develop the human culture, I have to develop the halfling culture.
Yeah, I have done a lot of legwork on Kitsune culture, and they're not even really done yet, because I'm trying to move it away from their heavy influence of Korean and Japanese mythology and try to make them more of their own thing, because I have another species for that plane that I handmade myself, which are kind of like these rabbit people, so I had to make whole ass mechanics for them. And have been trying to make them less just humans with bunny ears, more into a more unique looking thing, and also try and pull them away from their inspiration of Rome. And that's a lot of work to do that.
I can see that. It's an unfortunate thing that I think there is, like no matter what you're going to do, if you're building on cultures and stuff. I was also working on dual magic for Friends World setting.
Yeah, Lightning's making like a magic system.
That's not easy, because that's working on rule systems.
We'll
talk about rule systems in a moment. That's the thing to talk about too.
That's a whole mess.
But like, we often take what's the word I'm looking? Analogies in a lot of our systems to real world systems we know, because it makes sense in a way.
Because my logic when I had originally, I don't know if Kitsune were originally meant to be sort of Japanese or East Asian, but my logic was they're mythologically East Asian, I'm going to base them off of that, varying degrees of Chinese, Korean, Japanese, and go from there. That's their basis. And I'm going to go from there. And it works sufficiently for the two games that I've used Kitsune in heavily.
Yeah. But it's like you don't want it to be specifically one culture. You want to kind of have its like own thing, and that's not always easy.
It's hard to blend different cultural ideas together.
Yeah, and make something unique, but still feels maybe inspired a little bit. I mean, like, you could cheat. Like, I have to honestly say, Faerun cheats.
Pathfinder cheats.
They basically make it.
They get away with it a little easier because they're basically Earth.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like Faerun is basically Earth. If you actually look at it, like Toril, their planet, is analogous to Earth.
Faerun is like just Western Europe.
Yeah, it's just Europe, mostly Western Europe, and that very fact, when you look at it, like, I was using some other places when I did Records of Evil, but I was just making up shit. Like, I'm like, this might be a modern day version of this thing. You just make up shit for that. That's not a lot of difficulty, you know. But like, you know, it's Australia. And then you have to question yourself, the fuck's in Fantasy Australia? Things like that, you know.
Horse worms and kaiju, apparently.
That was the kind of interesting thing.
Horrible, massive, disgusting platypi monsters.
I really love the dire
Vomit lightning.
Vomit lightning and make nests like insects.
Man.
Look. I liked... That thing just got weirder. I just basically pulled this is what a platypus is. It just got weirder the longer I went. Talk about
Perfect organism.
But you cheat sometimes to have stuff like that. It makes it easier. I don't even know, like, I'm sure people do that. People build cultures from scratch.
I don't think I could, because I, as an American, we don't have a culture here that's our own. It's a blend of like a billion different cultures, so it's hard for me to visualize how to start even making a completely new and custom culture.
Yes, I will agree on that one, because making a custom culture requires you to like figure out a basis, and like I feel like no matter what culture I'm going to have, it's going to have an influence of something.
Yeah.
You know, like, granted, there are certain things that I did make a unique world many years ago that I've thought about revisiting, which was originally inspired. I'm going to tell you, it was inspired by a combination of two things. A combination of air planets from Spelljammer, and combine that with a little idea of like some skies of Arcadia.
Okay.
Like, so it was supposed to be like combining those two things. Like, it's supposed to be like on an air planet on the upper layers, where there's like these 4 or 5 layers that you have ways to travel between them. That there's these continents too. And then I made like basically I pulled a null moon from Magic and made be circled by all these different moons that gave like elemental energies that like these different lands were influenced by. So like some of the cultures I created were very obviously influenced by things. You know, like some of them like I forget the one elements, but it was like under the White Moon was this like very Rome-inspired culture, because I ran out of ideas, honestly. You know, you can only do so many, but like you get influence in there, and that was an original world I worked on that I've always thought about coming back to, but it requires a lot of work to continue developing that from where I was. And I had more, I guess not more time, I had time that I could like waste, I guess, more on it. You know, nowadays, like, sitting down and working on something like that is not easy at all.
It really is not. It's like I have an 8-hour-a-day job. I have a social life. I have obligations, so it's hard for me to sit down for a couple hours and write things out.
Yeah. The last part of all this that we did want to talk about, because we could talk about this for a while, is the one that we mentioned with Lightning there. Making your own rule set. I've worked on that before. I've never completed it, because it is not easy. When you're building rules from scratch, you have to figure out, like, what my dice system, what's my various systems, what's my, like, combat systems.
Yeah.
You know, what's my magic systems if I have magic, or special abilities if I've got special abilities. I've tried it a couple of times, and I've gotten progress.
I have some small experience with this, because I have attempted to just make it like a board game before.
Mm-hmm.
I got pretty decently far, but it never really came to it. But I have experience with the tabletop because in the 5e adjacent thing, where it has the framework of a D20 system, but it's very different, I attempted to place a magic system into that system, and it proved to be more difficult than it was worth, because for two reasons. The system is not designed around balancing for magic at all. I couldn't figure out what dice or how I wanted to handle spells, and there was no way for me to put spells on a character sheet on Roll20 specifically. So what I instead did was Lightning and I made an altered version of 5e's spell point system, which has worked out much better and easier.
Yeah. I think, like, the more complex your system is, the more difficult. Like, building a system like Pathfinder, which is still a refined, relatively in comparison, technically simpler system than 3.5 or a D&D, or you know, granted, original D&D was really simple, but it was also like really primitive, I would say. Even.
Yeah, AD&D and 2e were very basic systems.
Like 2nd edition 2e, I should probably say, because that's one that was pretty well developed.
2e had development, but it was still like a bit of a basic system. 1e was like so primitive and basic, because it was the first one ever made, basically.
Yeah. So, like, looking at that certainly screams to you, like, how something would work. And simpler systems, something like a 5e, that's easier to do. Can still be difficult. You still can have challenges to it, but it's not impossibility. I will always commend Joe for creating a system. Now, his system was relatively simple. It had major issues, but he made a system. He still wants to update it one day. His Underworld system, he's talked about it in the past. It was like a skill rank system where it was percentile dice you did everything for. And the better you are at skills, the more percentile you would have at certain things. There were some issues with that. It wasn't terrible. It could work. I think the main thing is you had like a weird targeting system that was like 3d6, and it was not balanced at all. So there was the example of, I'm going to have a Tommy gun and shoot you from your shoulder all the way down to your foot and shoot you in the foot 3 times.
Oof. I think, like, the best way to start building a system, this is my personal opinion, you should decide if you want a D6, a D12, or a D20 system. Because those are the 3 base systems. There are ones with weirder die. There's D100 systems and there's D10 systems. But 6, 12, and 20 tend to be the framework that a lot of systems are built off of, because they math out the easiest. Yeah,
I'd also say, like, you know, take a look at some of these other systems. Like, if you want to look at a D10 system, look at something like, here's it. Look at White Wolf, I was going to say, and World of Darkness. But also, do you want to do multiple dice and have, like, number tests? Or do you want to have single dice and have bonuses?
Yep.
Because like things like Bessem, it's a 2d6 system, but it rolls 2d6 and adds bonuses.
Yeah.
Star Trek is maybe a 2d20, but it's technically, you buy more d20s. It's supposed to be, it's a d20 like that system. Shadowrun and World of Darkness I have piles of dice to roll, dice pools.
Yes. And then you have stuff like Traveler and Stars Without Numbers, where it's a D6 system, but you are actively using a lot of other dice as well.
Freaking Earth Dawn. I would love to do an Earth Dawn game. I haven't done that in years. I was only a player once. I don't know if I could run it well, but I loved their system. They had a rank system. The higher the rank is, the larger the dice combinations you got.
That's cool.
So, like, the lowest rank would be, like, a D4, and you could get up to, like, 2D20 that you'd roll for something. So it was really cool like that. It was like...
That's a cool system.
Yeah. That's why I really liked Earthbound. It was really neat that way. Or Dawn, I'm sorry. And it's technically... It's technically the ancient past of Shadowrun, but they've deconnected them as different companies own them now. But originally, when the same company owned them, it was supposed to be like the second age, I think, and like Shadowrun's like the fourth or fifth age.
Yeah.
And this was supposed to be the, like, as Shadowrun's magic coming back, Earth Dawn was magic was fading away. And apparently, at the height of magic, horrible things called horrors emerged from some other dimension and plague the world.
Yep, that was a thing.
Yeah. They hint at that in Shadowrun in some places.
Yeah. But start simple if you're building your own. Start the simplest you can start with what dice you want to use. And then once you have your dice system figured out, then you can start adding on other mechanics.
Yeah. Stats / ability scores, how many you want, what they are. You can be as simple as 3. You could be as many as like something like, again, White Wolf has 9, D&D has 6. All these numbers are fine amounts. Let's see. There's skills. Probably going to have some kind of version of those, whether those are related to combat or non-related to combat. That's another thing. Special abilities oftentimes have those. The questions of what type of combat and stuff you're going to do. Like, are you... Also, like, that's another thing. Once you kind of got some of these basics down, what kind of world is it going to be? You know, if you're developing a combat system... a dice system, match it with your world. If you're like a futuristic system, you're gonna have to think of what kind of futuristic stuff there is. If you're a fantasy system, is it what kind of like magic or special abilities is it have? If you're modern day, what does that represent? How are you going to represent that in your system?
Yeah. Figuring out what kind of world you want. That's where you can definitely start drawing your inspirations from existing media. Like, I tend to draw my inspirations, so I'm doing a sci-fi setting. Usually from things like a bit of Shadowrun over here, a bit of Blade Runner. That whole, like, cyberpunk kind of feel tends to what I lean into. This is what I'm really good at when I design my worlds. And finding something you are good at designing is hard and takes a lot of examining and planning out, but I recommend you try to find a genre you are very comfortable with making before you attempt to make a world.
Also, if you're going to take inspiration from something, don't be afraid to wear it on your sleeve, is what I'm going to say. You'd want to change things enough so it's like, unless you're actually doing that, you want it to be uniquely different, but you can like draw huge parallels between it. Yeah, I will tell you. Well, go ahead.
Like for my setting, my cyberpunk setting for the world I helped make with Lightning, it's very clear I get a lot of my inspiration from the actual cyberpunk Red 2077, fucking whatever the hell the others are called, storyline, because in my world I have just straight up used corporate wars as a main setting piece for them. Mm-hmm. And that is very much specifically a thing from the cyberpunk setting.
I can tell you, Madness Land. I confess to this. I honestly have a huge influence on that. D&D Warriors of the Eternal Sun. If you play that game, the entire storyline is goblins are invading your castle. Sky rips open. You're torn to another world. Explore said world. That's it. Yeah. Granted, like, there's certain things. Goblins are part of the Dread Armies, things like that. I came up with an actual plot line of why you would be there. I tied the world to the world you came from. There's actually history that connects them together. There's, like, reasons why you might be chosen. Things like that. There's parallels you could certainly take, but I've written more about it, developed it more, and, like, made it my own. And then I added a lot more. I took that original concept and I ran with it and built huge layers on top of it. So, like, yeah, you can find parallels to that there, certainly, and there's a lot of other things, like media, that you can find parallels to or analogies to, almost. But you can work off of that,
Yeah. It's never frowned upon, in my opinion. It's actually a good thing to kind of inspire yourself from something that already exists, because it makes the way you want to make things feel a lot better and easier.
I mean, I made a D20 modern adaptation a very long time ago, which has some hilarious ideas about, like, the people, like, named stuff a lot. Because it was originally, like, a little very Parasite Eve inspired, you know. I made one that was kind of like that. But it was supposed to be, like, a weird future world, like, after the games kind of thing. And this was before the other That Should Be Not Named in that series. But before that, when it was just the first 2 games, I had kind of world inspired by that. I, you know, had other inspirations. And granted, my players made fun of me by, like, you know, saying it was like, I believe they referred to it the Parascry Gate Evil Hill game, because there was a little Silent Hill, little Resident Evil, little Stargate, and a little bit of Scry, the anime, which I honestly don't remember a lot about, but my one friend had watched it at the time, so he was able to describe it a lot. So see, that was kind of made it all this combo of, like, little influences, but, like, I put them together in an interesting way that was its own unique story. And it probably was less connected than they made it out to be, but whatever. But, you know, it's development. And for that, I took the... That was in the middle. I took the D20 Modern, and I just made my own classes for that.
Yeah, that's easy enough.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, Lightning and I, for our setting, have made a class.
Yeah.
Because making class is kind of a little bit of the easier side of mechanics, because once you have your mechanics down, you can kind of get a feel for how a class should work in that system.
Granted, we have our complaints about certain things with, like, 5e system and stuff like that.
Like, I definitely have issues with how spellcasting is handled in certain aspects, or how, just in general, there's not a lot to do in combat for 90% of classes. But, like, it's a good framework, and you generally know how things should feel, because as a basis, if I'm making an arcane caster, I want them to feel somewhere, depending on what they want to do. This is specifically for make some 5e. I want them to feel somewhere in between a wizard and a sorcerer, is kind of what me and Lightning did with our witch class, and I think we did a good job with that.
Well, shouting back to one of our topics we'll get to one point in time, poor Warlock. Would anybody ever do that?
For my Cyberpunk setting, I have tried to change Warlock. I had no ideas on how to even begin tackling fixing that mess.
The only thing I could say is if you would check out, like, 3.5, I think it was, had Warlock, and 4th edition, check out their versions of it and work on something off of them. Because, again, like, I feel like those had very unique, distinct Warlocks that still felt very... Like, 4th edition, you know, that's more for flavor rather than mechanics, because 4th edition, everything is very similar at very least. But, like, 3rd edition, Warlock really felt like its own thing, very unique. Like, you know, like Witch. Witch is so unique in Pathfinder, but it's still, like, it is very much just another wizard, honestly, to a degree. You know? But it feels like its own thing, and it does its own thing very well. You know, the idea, the hexes and the way it works and things like that. That's really interesting and different. They could have done something like that with Warlock.
They really could have. It's just weird. It's a weird place. It's like they want Warlock to be a caster, but also not be a caster. Because technically, Warlock casting isn't actually magic.
Yeah.
It doesn't follow the same mechanics as spell casting for multi-classing, so it is its own separate kind of system.
Which might have to suck in certain ways, because then, like, if you multi-class it makes it worse.
Yeah, unless you do, like, 2 very specific multi-classes.
But multi-classing just sucks in 5e, which is another side topic, you know?
Yeah.
That might just be thing. I can put Warlock, what went wrong, Multi-classing, if I spell it right, in 5e. It really sucks. There you go, new topic.
Yeah. If you're gonna have a class-based system, and you do wish to allow for multi-classing, because there are systems that have classes but don't allow for multi-classing, which is a completely fair way to make a system.
Yes.
You need to try and make it so it doesn't feel like you're being too punished for wanting to pick up a second class. If someone wants to pick up a third class, that's just gonna be punishing regardless.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to work in a third class to anything. But the way 5th edition handles it, and again, you can like, for D20s, 5th edition is kind of the quote-unquote standard right now. They kind of threw out class and character level, and you're just class levels now.
Yeah.
So definitely separating the two out, I think, is a better option most of the time.
I agree. Like, I haven't looked into multi-classing in Pathfinder 2nd edition, so I can't comment on that. 1st edition was very simple and easy. You just took multiple classes. Granted, they try to encourage you to stick with one class because they have capstone abilities, or very powerful abilities that you gain later in the class that make it worth it to stick with it. I'm going to say, even 4th edition, which definitely had a very different version of multi-classing than, like, earlier editions, it still was better. The idea was that, like, you would take a couple of feats, and it would allow you to, when you got a power, take powers of that class. And, you know, granted, each power is based on ability score, so they might still be lesser abilities, but they could still add variety to your character. Mm-hmm. Or, like, little, like, abilities that could help out. And then also, when you got to the various, like, 10th level and 20th level and got to those kind of, like, top archetypes and stuff where you could be at, you got to choose between them. I had a warlock character, and now granted I ended at, like, 11th level, but I had, for my, like, 11th level subclass, a sorcerer one, because I was multi-class sorcerer. And it gave, and granted, like, I was, like, I think intelligence-based, warlock more, mm-hmm. But it gave me more, still had good charisma, and the abilities that it gave me were worth, like, the attack bonus or the DCs being less, you know, because they were still cool and interesting, and made my character neater. So I could still do that kind of multi-class combining, you know, and how it worked in that system. It worked for that system, and it still felt like I could multi-class successfully, is what I mean, you know? And it felt like it was a blending of them. I'm getting into this topic too much. Oh, God. Anyway. That we'll have to talk about that more.
Yeah. Definitely, like, back to this. Another aspect is items.
Items, yeah.
Look at how a system with a similar die does items first. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of, like, D20 systems do items sort of the same.
Classes are archetypes. True.
Yeah, classes and archetypes are a hard one because you have to be creative with it so you can make them feel different.
Yeah.
Which isn't something a lot of systems do very well. Cough, 5e, everything feels the same.
Like, you could still have things called the same, certainly. You could be like, I have a fighter, I have a wizard, but make them their unique in the system, and you know, build them uniquely. And again, you could be something similar to, like, a Besom or a Shadowrun, where you don't actually have to have an archetype or something. Rather, you can just be very generic.
Yeah, you can just be a generic swordman.
Yeah, and build off of that. But
definitely when you start working on magic is where it gets weird, because magic systems in everything are hard to balance. Mm-hmm. Even Pathfinder and 5th edition, as refined as they are, they do not have the most balanced magic systems towards the end of the game.
Yeah.
But you generally, because most games won't make it to the max level, you really only have to focus on hard balancing the earlier levels, and then making sure later levels feel at least a little bit balanced. And you can get really creative with magic systems and take inspiration from any type of fantasy, because honestly, every type of magic system has been done by now in some way, shape, or form.
And you don't even have to call it like a magic system. You can have a special ability system. Or there's different versions of that same kind of thing, like, unique powers or abilities, and you can have all your characters have it. That maybe they're like combat styles. If you're like a martial artsy thing, like
magic could just be alchemy.
Yeah,
that could be a very easy way to do it if you don't want to have spells and stuff. There's a book series I've read where magic requires the use of gunpowder, and it's basically just alchemy.
Like, it could just be like superpowers. It could be, as I was saying there with the, excuse me, like martial arts style. It could just be like fighting things. It's like, oh, I know these punch combos and stuff like that. You could have that, Like, I know Eagle Strike is my special ability. Or something weird like that. And certainly that works. So. Worlds and systems are hard.
They are, and they take a lot of time. And if you're going to do it, you want to do it as smart as possible and do it kind of in pieces rather than trying to engage with it all at once. Because building a world is like building a house. You need a foundation before you start anything else.
Yep. You need to develop it correctly. You need a foundation. You need to do a lot to make it good. And you can. Honestly, you can. It just requires those extra steps sometimes. So, I don't think there's much else to say about that at this point in time. We could dive into this sort of thing for hours, but just giving that basics of like what we're on is good and what you recognize about it. So, all right, our week in tabletop.
Yeah.
I had nothing over the weekends up until.
No, I didn't have anything on Saturday or Sunday.
I think the next first thing I had was Tuesday for me.
Yeah, Tuesday, you guys did more on Dathomir. You went and beat up some Imperials. Well, you watched the Imperials get beaten up, mostly. Yeah. I think you killed like 5.
Yeah, we killed a few of them.
You got some information. You got some more destinations. Cell had a weird spirit journey, and is now a Night Sister.
Yeah.
Although technically the correct term would be Night Brother. I didn't remember that. But I'm just going to stick with that. She just wants to bully him, so she's going to call him a Night Sister.
That's acceptable. Cell's character is like Boy Scouty and very easy to bully.
He is the Boy Scout good boy of the party, and everyone else is a war criminal. Well, everyone else is a war criminal, but Tantus' character is just a conscious objector.
I just let war criminals do bad things and don't stop them. I'm like, probably shouldn't do that.
I'm not gonna stop you, but
that would require.
I'm just gonna look over here while you do that. And
what fine but rustic architecture?
It's like when you send the paladin out to go look at architecture while you torture a dude.
Yeah. He's like, what happened to that man? How do you get beat up? He fell over and beat himself up. Don't worry about it.
True.
Yes.
From gamers. Oh my, this beautiful architecture as he just turns away while they're beating a dude to death.
Man, the gamers movies are good. At least the first 2.
Hide behind the pile of dead bards.
I really liked that. That's a really good one. The dead bards one, definitely. Oh, that's another one I should have like another viewing party of some point.
Such a good movie.
Probably should do the first one too. The first one is a lot more jank because it was like one of the early ones, but it's still pretty good because it's got some really great scenes, like when someone wants to backstab someone with a ballista, and it's like it's not in the rules that I can't do this. So he pulls out like he's like they just have him like put down like a chair and like move over the giant ballista and put it behind his back. It's just like what? It's like so silly. Yeah, it was very good. There's plenty of really good scenes in that one too. Buccaneers, we did. Where you went to a couple of temples and met with some people, and basically they were all like, "We could give you this information, but we want you to do stuff."
We're
for
on a Final Fantasy side quest chain where we have to go to this place only to have to immediately go back to talk with you.
Kind of felt like that a little bit. It's unfortunate that I'm like, oh god, they really do set that up.
Side quests are,
yeah.
Unfortunately.
It's the side quest, so you can get information on the main quest, of course, but still.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're looking into spies, so they have to do all this stuff for these groups so that they give them information on spies and send them to various places. And they got some progress. They beat up some shipwreckers. So a group of pirates that lure ships into...
We made sure that mage did not escape with 69 HP.
She actually does, as soon as her her men are dead, she's just like, I
was wondering if that was hard baked in.
It is. It's as soon as her men's dead, she's just like, well, this isn't going well. Bye. She's an illusionist. She's not gonna.
Sense.
She's not gonna. She used most of her attack spells.
If I hadn't gotten feared, she would have been fucking dead.
Oh god, you had ranged.
I had range, and I'm a character built for killing spellcasters.
Yeah, God, she was able to survive and just beat the shit out of Sally.
But I rolled a 2.
I forgot that Sandra isn't a really great combat.
No, Sandra's really bad at combat. She also has no con.
Yeah, she's a support character, more than anything.
She's such a weird build. All these characters is weirdly built.
I fixed some of them a little bit.
A strength-based rogue feels wrong.
He's technically a rogue ranger.
It just feels so weird.
Well, and thugs get abilities that are based on strength, so that's why it made sense, but still.
Well, just such a weird one.
It is quite strange. I will not deny it. Ugh.
Yep. We had Wrath.
Yeah. Wrath went well. We went to a nice circus. Everybody hated it.
I didn't hate the circus. I wanted to perform there, and the party said no.
Yeah, that's right. You're the only one that liked the circus.
What kind of person doesn't like a circus?
Carrie didn't because of, she's
Carrie had a reason to.
Yes. She's paranoid, and, the dude she met was, the only other half-demon, and he revealed that, half-demons occasionally exist, but they exist as, human sacrifices for greater demons to summon them in the world.
That just makes sense.
Yeah. So he was like, you weren't being sacrificed horribly? That doesn't make sense
also
to me.
Does have things to hide. Pesky little secrets.
Yeah. She was very terrible when he was just randomly guessing demon lords. She's just she's like, maybe not that one. It's sort of so Belzenlock. Mm-hmm. That's kind of strange and interesting, and you're curious about this. And he has weird circus folk under him. Also,
he's got weird clown demon or devils.
Well, if Carrie wanted to be more demonish, she could summon devils. It's technically a thing that they do.
Things she can do.
Devils are basically in
magic. Carrie doesn't want any of that because Carrie just wants to fuck her bone.
Yeah, but it's supposed to be the temptation of evil. Get more temptation of evil. I'm sorry.
Yeah, she's already evil.
Look, eventually she's just going to become the villain, and then I'll have an excuse to just basically overpower her with superheroes. Or for, legendary heroes of old.
True.
And then, half the team will basically wait and be like, well, that was the thing that happened. But she did go horribly evil and try to conquer the world.
Yeah.
Kaz might, because it's kind of bad that way.
Well, Kaz can die along with Carrie.
Kaz has become Urza, so I mean, that was an agreed upon thing that Kaz is now
we
like.
all kind of agreed that Kaz is actually the worst.
I didn't do anything on Friday.
Friday I played board games with people.
Ooh, nice.
We played a new board game called Spirit Island. It is a cooperative board game where you are playing as these sort of Native American spirits, and you are protecting the sort of native population from horrible European colonizers. You have to do things like destroy cities and cure the land of blight. I played as a river spirit, which means I can shove things into other tiles. So all I did was shove cities into the ocean to feed the person playing the ocean spirit.
Well, isn't that so pleasant? Just like, buy cities, you can go drown.
It's a cool board game. I have one issue with it. All of the adversaries are like France, Britain, the standard. But then there's just like the Habsburg monarchy instead of Spain.
Okay.
Which just doesn't feel right. It's technically correct, but it feels wrong.
Because we should just be calling it Spain, even though it's...
call it the Spanish Empire.
Yeah, that definitely sounds weird.
It's a very good cooperative board game. I had a lot of fun with it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I think that was our week in tabletop. A relatively simple week in tabletop.
Yeah.
So, I think that's it for today. We talked about a lot of interesting and soul-crushing topics. Some of which are less soul-crushing. We had a very good and difficult topic to talk about, and our week was pretty simple. I mean, I still have to buy equipment for that character I made for...
You do. I mean, like, I've just given you most of what you need.
Yeah.
You just have to pick a gun.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to pick. Something, I'll figure it out.
You gotta pick a gun for your just average man.
I just imagine, I like a sports star that joined, like, a special organization.
It's basically like just... I don't know if you've played Chimera Squad. The XCOM game. It's basically your XCOM.
Yeah.
More or less. But your cop XCOM. Which technically is an XCOM game that I don't like that much.
Yeah, I've seen some gameplay of it. I'd be like the human on the squad.
You are one of the generic humans. There's literally a snake person.
God, I really am a snake person.
There's two humans, but one's an old man.
Yeah, one's like a grizzled veteran or something, I guess.
There's a kitsune.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of colorful NPCs I've decided to make. One of them's a goblin. It's hard to find male goblin art that isn't ugly.
I would think that, like, Pathfinder would do a good job of making...
Lady goblins, however, lots of art I can't use.
Yes! I can see that. Look, the internet's horny. It's acceptable.
Look, I mean, I appreciate that goblins and kobolds are getting prettied up. Just make a little less of it.
I mean, like...
Put clothes on them, please.
Look, I'm fine with just sticking with, like, the, Pathfinder and stuff. But they make them, like, not... They make them slightly adorable, so that they're, like, dangerous, but
they're
also
like
kind of adorable.
mischievous scamps in Pathfinder. Whereas in 5e, they're disgusting.
Yeah, like, goblins just tend to be kind of, like, idiots that hate dogs and horses. Unless you leave and become an adventurer. If you're going for tribal goblins. And kobolds are just like, we want to totally be dragons. We're totally dragons.
Kobolds live for a long time, but they die early because they're stupid.
That's why, like, the adventurers, like, live longer, because they're like, oh, yeah, we got out of there. We decided to travel.
A kobold tribe shares one brain cell between them.
Yeah. And whenever someone's born the second brain cell, they leave.
Yeah.
That second edition game will always be wonderful, though. The one that's the adventure with the kobolds. I really do want to run that one.
Yeah, it's so good.
They're just weird and adorable. And
the one's just got a cat.
The druid's got the cat because it's like... I think it's a druid, or like it might be an animal.
Yeah, she's a druid.
Yeah, but it's sort of just like, this cat has the spirit of a dragon because it's angry.
It's angry and it judges everyone.
Yeah, it's angry and vain and selfish. It's totally a dragon. Anyway, so get on my way.
Yeah.
I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining me, as usual.
No problem.
It was a exciting one, a pretty good one. Should be back next week, but I am going to say I will probably be off the week after that, because I must confess that is the weekend of the yearly Pokemon Go Fest, so I'm going to be out and about my town playing the shit out of Pokemon Go. And hopefully, collecting them alls. And more of them shinies, because goddammit, those things,
Everyone loves Pokemon, except me, mostly.
I'm
neutral on Pokemon.
It fills a very deep-needed, addictive part of my personality, and so...
That's fair.
I accept that, because,
I just played Final Fantasy XIV for that one.
I spend less money then, because I'll spend a little bit of money every couple of months, and that's not too bad in comparison to, things like Magic cards, where...
Magic cards.
I was pretty bad
for me,
for a while.
Warhammer,
that's another one that's a very expensive hobby. And when you want to collect them all, and you have that urge to collect them all, it's just,
I can't... I'm always so excited to look at miniature prices and see them as way too expensive.
Yeah. We have our vices. I'm hoping mine is at least a little better than some others. Maybe not. Anyway. Gonna get going? So I didn't stream at all really yesterday. I might do a couple hours of Stellaris tomorrow. I was my underground group. I was fighting the Fnatic Purifiers that were my neighbors and beating them up, and I might just do that to get like an empire, and then maybe like vassalize a couple of the pacifists near me. Because I could see that there's a passive vassalization thing. I want to know if there's still violent pacification or vassalization or something like that. I need to know more about their systems as they've developed it. The passive one is just a little weird.
True.
So, anyway. And then schedule will be up late on Sunday, early next Monday for the rest of the week. So anyway, for now, farewell everybody. Goodbye. Let's go.
Woo.